How's it, mother lovers? Believe it or not, I've got a CO2 with autofocus that's costs less than most diode lasers costs. Let's get into it. It's weird. Most things cost twice what they were 4 to 5 years ago. But electronics like this, the prices are going the other way. I'm not going to bore you with a huge unboxing. I can tell you I grew an inch by the time I'd finished. It was well boxed. There wasn't any damage. The leveler feet were screwed down to the crate. Just remove the screws from the leveling feet, take off the weight from the leveling feet, and I rolled it off onto the ground. I used the sides of the crate to make myself a ramp, supported it with bits of wood underneath and just slid it down. Easy as pie. The one thing that I thought that was really dumb when I received it, I opened up the lid and inside was the blue bucket for the water and the water pump. Turned upside down and jammed between the honeycomb bed and the top of the machine. Inside that blue bucket were the instructions. And you get something new, really would like the instructions so you could either turn it on, because that honeycomb base moves up and down electronically. So I'm like, well, I can't get the bucket out. I can't get to the instructions to find out how to switch it on and how to lower and raise that bed. In the end, I had to take off a panel and then by hand lower the table enough so I could get the bucket out and get to the instructions. And even still, if I couldn't have plugged it in anyway to lower it because the power cord is in that bucket. You know you're onto a winner when you need keys to start the machine. So what's in Mrs. Bucket? Extraction hose. Extraction hose clamp. Pipe, water pump, bucket we're not going to need, waterproof handbag, instructions, after sales service card. Jeez, that's going to need the binoculars to read that. I'd like a downloadable version, really, to be honest with you.
Please rise. Now sit on it. The fawns be with you.
And also with you.
Let us A.
A.
I think Cletus McFarlane might like these. Wonder if these are up to spec. Pardon the pun. Full set of Allen keys. Result. What is this? Silicone elastometer sealant. Nothing on the tube, nothing on the box. Can you eat it? Can you swallow it? White tape of some description, no idea what sort of tape. Ethernet cable, guess you can add this to the network. Earth cable. We're not going to need this because we're in the UK and we have 3-pin plugs. If you had a plug that doesn't have an earth on it, you're going to need to wire that to a stake and smash the stake into the ground. Lucky you. USB-A cable. We're in the 21st century now, people. USB-C, please. This won't connect to a Mac without a hub. Little flash drive, thumb drive, whatever you want to call it. That's it. Do you expect me to talk? No, Mr. Bond, I expect you to die. Outside of that, I really like the look of it. I was really surprised to see how low it was. I mean, it comes to the bottom of my nuts. I think I'm going to raise it with the pallet that it came on and put some retractable caster wheels on it. I mean, as you can see, I'm sitting on the floor. Working dimensions are 700 by 500. For you retired folk, that's 28 by 20 inches. And I'm just joking, peeps, don't take it seriously. Max processing speed, 800 millimeters a second. Diode lasers are about 600 millimeters a second. The machine dimensions, 125 centimeters by 91.5 centimeters by 63.5, 48.2 inches, 36 inches by 25 inches. Now for you peeps that like a front and back opening, like a wizard sleeve, you're in luck. You have a front and rear pass through at 83.9 centimeters times 9.5 centimeters, 32.3 inches, 3.9 inches. If you're a proper wrong one, and I should say I wasn't expecting this, we have a side pass through. Well, so it says online, but I can't see how that's going to work, so we won't bother with that. I'm guessing some EU for brains got involved with this. These machines, I guess if you're in the States and you don't have the EU regulations, these panels are actually hinged. Unlock them and lower them down. For us EU peeps, we've got to undo these 4 Allen screws so we can have long pieces sticking through the machine. So if we're doing a long sign, for instance, you can move the board through. The weight of this bad boy is 180 kilos, 396 pounds. The laser head is a 4-in-1, laser emissions, autofocus, air assist, and a red light indicator. Roxanne. I mentioned we don't need the water pump and bucket. I should tell you though, this is an extra 700 quid. Nice. Yeah, not cheap, but in my opinion, a must. This, mother lover, will extend the life of your CO2 tube. Yeah, you can go the bucket and water pump route, but you're not really going to have much control over the temperature of the water in there. Heat is the enemy, dudes and dudettes, and you must run it on distilled water. I'll quickly run through this. Nice copper plumbing. Dual fans, which is cool. Water level, drain, inlet, outlet, alarm outlet, not sure what that is, and obviously your power. Water inlet. Remember, distilled water only. Do not run this machine without any water in it. Let's get this set up. Speaking of things not to do, it does come with some instructions. But again, the type is so small. I did find these in the bedroom drawer though. You're going to need these. Anyway, you can't just go in balls deep and hope for the best. You need to make sure the laser is aligned properly. Well, perfectly. It might be out of the box. You don't know. We need to find out though. And it needs to be done before any work can be done. Let's get to it. Oh, it's a spanner gone. Oh, for fuck's sake. So before you do anything, you've got to connect this chair up, load it with water, switch it on. Do not operate this laser without this on and switched on. Outlet to inlet, inlet to outlet. Right kids, you mustn't overfill this. Well, and of course, power. There we go. So you can see the water circulating now, even though the actual laser itself is switched off. Right, so we need to check this tube is in the correct position. It can move backwards and forwards, both sides here. So when we test fire it through this mirror here, it's not in the centre, you've got to move this, well, both sides until it's lined up properly. Before you start moving anything, I suggest you get a pencil, a mark, all around that bracket, so if you screw up, well, at least you've got a datum point where you started, you know. So if you bought the newer machine, you're going to have this control panel, which is different to the ones you're probably going to see on other YouTube channels. In order to test the laser and the mirrors are all lined up, we need to set the power. So enter, scroll down, power, enter. A lot of enters every time you do something really. Enter, 1, 2, 1. I want to go to 15, move it over, 15, enter. Go down, we've got 50 minimum, 50, right, so we're good. My apologies for the fan noise, there's nothing you can do about it, as far as I can find. Anyway, in order to test this, we need to cover this with a bit of masking tape. Try and get a nice indent from that ring, as it were. And now we're ready to fire the laser. So, to do that, just going to come to the pulse button there, fire. As you can see, I'm a Ganat's chuff off to the right. So, I don't need to go up, I just literally need to move it over across a bit. Right, well I managed to get the first mirror lined up with this laser tube. It was a pig of a job, to be honest with you. The rear bolts of these brackets are underneath this tube. I tried cutting an Allen key down to get under it because you've only got about 10 mil. I managed to get them loose enough with a pair of long nosed pliers and they slip, and I think this is glass. It's a hard mouth attempt. Aligning these mirrors wasn't something I could really film. There's lots of backwards and forwards and backwards and forwards. I spent the best part of a day trying to get them lined up and was failing miserably. Then Josh came down and gave me a hand with it, which made this go very quickly. It's all done. It's much better to have two, I think, because you've got one concentrating on the mirror and someone doing all the changing of the tape and moving the head around. The first part of aligning the laser is getting this tube to fire bang on the center of the mirror there. In these brackets, we'll move it left and right. Underneath that mirror, there are two more nuts, which mean you can move it up and down to get it into the center. Once you've got that in the center, you don't really need to worry about getting in the center of all the other mirrors, except for the very last point of the laser. What is necessary is you need to fire the laser with the gantry all the way over to the front of the machine. You need to bring it back and then fire it again. Now the laser needs to go through those holes. It doesn't matter if in that circle, if the laser's up here, just as long as that laser fires through that hole wherever that gantry is in the machine. Once you've done that, then once you've aligned the second mirror, which is this one on this side, and you've got a nice X-axis panel to that mirror there, which is very handy. When you're adjusting these screws, you need to adjust them at a tiny amount, like less than a millimeter sometimes, like an axe cock. Also, when you're turning them, if you want to move your laser over to left or right, you use the nut to turn it left or right, but if you want to move right, you need to turn that left. Yeah, that's important. But like I said, if there's two of you doing it, you can rely on the one to know where they stand and what they've done and previously. And then you've got to align that mirror to the business end, let's call it. Again, with the mirror on the top of the business end. Doesn't matter if it's off center, just again, make sure the laser's firing through the same hole with the laser on this side of the cabinet and that side of the cabinet. Then you need to work on the laser traveling down through the points at the end, where you put a piece of tape over the bottom, rub your finger trying to get an indent off the laser point, fire it through, be careful when you take the laser off, when you take the masking tape off, to keep it straight so you can see whether you need to move left, right or diagonally. That does need to fire exactly through the middle of the laser head, the business end. Just a quick FYI, when you come to doing your tape on here and making sure it's in the center, remove this airline because it's constantly pushing air out. It'll just blow your tape off. Reinstall it to do your work.
There is one more thing. There is one more thing that I want to show you. Thanks.
With the two of us, it probably took half an hour to do all of these mirrors, and it's perfectly set up now. So now I can have some fun. The next thing I need is a spool board. And with this machine, it doesn't seem to be a way of anchoring down the spool board. So when you take it out, put it away, bring it back, it locks off in exactly the same position as it was before. So what I thought of, some little blocks, MDF, super glue and activator. Go from underneath and stick them on like so. Now I better go into what's going on here. A long time ago I made this award for myself because YouTube don't send out an award for 10 grand. And I hated the engraving on it, which was done by a local firm on a type of CNC type job. They couldn't even put the YouTube logo on it properly, so I thought this was a great opportunity to do it how I wanted and on a laser. So this is what I'm up to. Now the YouTube logo itself, if you have the white version and you put it into Lightburn and you try and engrave the white logo, it just won't engrave a white picture for some reason. Well, it didn't when I did it, so I'm not sure. So hence why I'm putting this black one in, because that will engrave. I also thought at the same time maybe I can make this award a little less bulky, so I might not even use the perspex despite how well it came out. So I put the wood in and I put masking tape over the top of it and then did the engraving. Now the reason for doing so is so that I can add some white enamel paint to that and not get it over the wooden part. And it should look pretty wicked when it's done and will fit on my desk, possibly. So for doing anything like this, you will need to turn your photographs into a vector graphic. I think a vector graphic engraves and looks much better than trying to engrave a photograph onto a piece of wood, because you've got so many variations in colour and texture. The photo kind of gets lost. It's even much worse on end grain, that's for sure, because you've got different square cubes of darker and lighter bits of wood, so it looks terrible. And for me, I had to use Illustrator and Photoshop to do all of that. You'll need your own pieces of software, unless you've got Photoshop or Illustrator, use that. As this is the newer model of this machine and not commonly seen on YouTube, it's got a different control panel, there's electrics in different places. It's the autofocus laser head. So there's no video I can find to show you how to clean the lens. So I'll quickly run through that. It's not a big deal. First thing you want to do, the laser to somewhere where you can get to it easily, and then move the bed low enough down so you can work on it. And guess what's important you do next? Turn it off. So the first thing you want to do is press down that blue button and get out your air supply. Unscrew your... and unscrew that. And there's your laser, your lens. You can see in there, it ain't pretty, is it? Bit like a nicotine colour stain. Undo that retaining clip. Now I want to try and make sure I put this in the right way up, because that might be concaved or convexed. Okay. Oh. I've got some isopropanol and water, a 50-50 mix. Convex side is the side with the ring, and it goes in that way. Don't want fingerprints over it really, do we? Of course I've only got one nitrile glove left. Okay, it's lovely and clean. Obviously reassemble and put and replace. Installation is just reversal of what we have done. MDF. 18mm ply. No. 18mm. I think for the price point, this machine is excellent. For me, it really excelled at cutting acrylic perspex, which you can't do with a diode laser without painting it. Things I dislike about this laser though is the fan. From the moment you switch that laser on, the fan is running. You can't switch it off and it doesn't come on, you know, when you send the job to the machine to get on with it. What would be nice is if it come on when you sent the machine the job and turned off maybe 30 seconds after the job to clear the rest of the smoke out of the machine, because it is a big machine, it'll need the time to do that. The footprint is large, but then so is the capacity of this machine. If it was mine, I'd definitely be adding a blower to the hose that's getting rid of the smoke from the machine. Can afford it, buy the one with a built-in chiller. If not, go with this one, but you need to buy the chiller really. This machine doesn't come with its own software. You will need to buy Lightburn, which is the industry standard anyway. And what I like is the speed of it. That was the first thing I noticed when playing around with this. Coming from a diode laser that's sort of 600 per second to this, which I think is 800 a second. Where I really noticed it though is when I was engraving the spoil board. On previous diode lasers, which are much smaller beds than this, it was over an hour to engrave that grid in. With this, 20 minutes. But yeah, no complaints. I really want one myself, really. No lies there, honestly. Looks the part. If they could make this a bit more compact, would be nice, and still had the same size bed, but there you are. I think this needs to be said out loud, because lots of Facebook groups, you'll get people asking the question, should I get this diode laser? And the diode, some of these diode lasers are $3,000. And quite the most common answer is usually, for that money, you might as well get the CO2. First off, it's important to recognise that when users buy a laser machine, they're not just buying specs or raw power. They are invested in a tool and a solution that fits their specific needs. So in my personal opinion, instead of asking whether a CO2 or diode lasers are better, it really comes down to who needs what. There's no doubt that CO2 lasers are powerful and excel at cutting large areas of non-metal materials. That's the consensus. Diode lasers have a completely different set of strengths that make them uniquely valuable, especially in certain use cases. We can talk about portability, precision, detailing, high compatibility with many materials, low maintenance, and modular expandability. So let me just highlight a few advantages that a CO2 can't match. Multi-wavelength engraving, blue and infrared combos, metal marking capabilities, infrared fiber, ultra-fine engraving. We're talking 0.01 millimeter line widths. Modular design, you can add your rotaries, auto feeders, and sliding platforms. And let's be honest, a CO2 user and a typical diode laser aren't really the same people, are they? Diode lasers are ideal for hobbyists, makers and crafters, people that want plug and play without the space constraints and maintenance constraints. Users are looking for a versatile machine that can engrave, cut. I use the term cut loosely because it can only can't cut really much more than 9mm at a push, and they can engrave on metal too. Of course, if you're running a workshop, a full-scale workshop doing high volume production, CO2 would be the way to go. If you want something that's compact, flexible and powerful enough to take wherever you want to go, set it up anywhere, then a diode laser is a no-brainer. The value of a diode laser has never been about chasing higher wattage for the sake of it. It's about making laser engraving more accessible to Joe Bloggs and his missus, more creative and more integrated into everyday life. So you need both, really. Having had both now, I can see that I would like both. Anyway, thanks for watching, mother lovers. Please like, subscribe, share, all that good stuff, because sharing is caring. If you can, I'd be grateful if you could head over to my Patreon page and help support this channel. It's the cost of a pint a month, pressure free, no obligation, cancel anytime. You get early access to videos before anyone else gets to see them, and there's a WhatsApp group for top tier peeps. I hope you enjoyed the video. Be lucky.